The pirates. Franklin looked over the torn-up and broken battlefield of just a few weeks prior. The burnt fossils of the sea serpents, the hordes of bones and rotted meat from the zombie advance, the sheer devastation on the landscape. All of it was still here. But it was time to work. He'd staked out the best spot, and the least fertile soil in the area was a gravely mess where little would grow. A former chemical dumping site with a hill. He crouches down and sends a pulse of axiom into the earth to get a sensation for what's there. A smile crosses his face. The chemicals may have left a burning trail of death on the way down, but it was long enough ago that even the smallest trace of it has degraded into harmlessness. Bits of old metal were rusted all the way through and would shatter at the impact of a shovel. Ancient glass was ground to sand by the slow but undeniable movement of the continents. "All right," he says, looking up to a small hill. "From there, that's where the house will be built." He focuses and is then standing upon the hill. Baron Smith. He lets the wind tousle his growing hair as he tries to consider. The elevation to a royal title hadn't been a surprise, but he was just sorting out too much shit and needed to stop dallying around. Why am I hung up on this? I've killed. I've killed in defense and in offense. I did terrible things to terrible people, and those two were terrible people to have terrible things done to them. They deserved it. He closes his eyes, and a scorched skull looks back at him with smoldering eye sockets. He glares out over the plains. "Still hung up?" Mirage asks, and he turns to regard the cloakin. She's wearing clothing which is an improvement. For some reason, she looks more carnal and inviting when dressed rather than nude. It's a strange thing. His other wives are walking up. Many of them look concerned, and there's a large-scale air transport behind them, clearly designed to house all the equipment and materials they need to start. Yes, and I don't know why. He looks away. I could spend 100 years scouring 1,000 worlds, and I would struggle to find someone who deserves a gruesome death more than those two. But that still doesn't mean it was easy. No, the problem was it was too easy, far too easy. Killing is easy. Widespread devastation is easy. By now, the rest of his wives have gathered behind him. With a wave of my hand, the world shakes. Everyone staggers at the demonstration. Sensors all over the planet register an earthquake out of nowhere that, just as suddenly as it appeared, stops. By chasing axiom power, I made myself into a living weapon of mass destruction, a nuke that can get into a pissy mood. One bad day, one flare of temper, and thousands of lives can be lost. I chased the prize of axiom so hard that once I had it, I had too much. Hell, with my knowledge of chain reactions in the axiom, I could burn entire worlds. He holds his hands out in front of him. With a snap of my fingers and all this ends. I figured out how to create a self-feeding chain reaction in the axiom. I don't even know if it would stop on Vuxa or go beyond. Would it stop on the planet? Would it eat the system? Would it spread even further? I don't know. "Do you really think it would do that?" Smith asks, and he slowly shrugs. "It's possible. It's very possible." Franklin says before sighing. "It's too much." A pair of small arms wrap around his leg, and he looks down to see Smitha hugging him. "Get down here. We need to talk face to face." He crouches down to her level, and she puts her forehead to his. "I've seen evil. I've been the victim of it most of my life. I know it when I see it. I see some of it in my fellow wives. We all have evil and darkness in us. I've done evil. You've done evil. That you're afraid of unleashing evil is proof enough that you do not let it control you. Look." She sweeps her arm out over the fields. This was a place of death and doom. Anyone that came here was guaranteed to be slaughtered for the entertainment of those two monsters, and when no one came here after too long a period of time, then they'd slip out and find victims elsewhere. Every week there was someone else screaming their last, and broadcasted for the entire world to see. Then you happened. We're safe now. But is this a human thing? So much doubt and self-loathing? Yes. You're powerful. Yes. You can do incredible and awful things. I know how to rig up an Axiom cascade bomb. I get one of those big enough and park it on a star and I can force a stellar flare. Aim it right and you can cook a world. Will I do that? It's not a weird thing to have that kind of power, Franklin asks after a moment. Behind his eyes, Smith can see the mechanisms in his head seeming to clunk and clank together. It's a big galaxy, Franklin. We've had a lot of mad women make all kinds of horrible things. Things that have been declared illegal and immoral to use, which just makes them the go-to toys of the real lunatics. As bad as, what did you call them again? Butcher Bitch and Thunder Thought? Smith asks, and he nods. Yay, those were the code names, Franklin says, and Mirage kneels down to his level with a hand on his shoulder in comfort. As bad as they were contained to just one world, Mirage says before shrugging. Besides, you think you're the first to figure out these Axiom tricks. There are others, rumors around pirate stations of some worlds that are just gone. A massive surge of Axiom followed by a wave of null like a bomb went off. That's what would happen if you use that cascade idea, isn't it? Yeah, logically. I haven't done it yet. It's not exactly a skill that can be practiced. You're not the first. You're not the last. There will be others. What we need is a good person with the power to snuff out stars, not to extinguish this one, but to swat away the hand that would. Smith says, and he sighs. I suppose in that light it's just stupid for me to mope, isn't it? Franklin asks. You can't control what you feel, but you can control what you do with it. Mabby remarks, leaning down to his level. Now, Stan, dear man, you've done too much for too many to mope. Franklin rises, carrying a giggling Smith with him. You're right, all of you. Moping solves nothing, and there's enough people and places in the galaxy that there's no way what I've done or discovered is unique, which means the only path is forward. So have you scouted it? Can we start making our new home? Chiria asks excitedly. Her arm blades are unfolding and folding again and again in excitement. Yay, we center it on that hill and we'll have a perfect view of our lands from one corner to the other. And like the Earth Barons of old, our holdings will be all we can see from the top of our home. Franklin explains. But there's no cave. How can we do things the old Earthway without a cave to huddle into and a pile of furs to sleep on? Ichi teases. Not to mention the cave paintings. Oh, maybe he'll dress in only war paint, Nietzsche offers, and a Franklin just crosses his arms and regards them with a smile. I don't know. I don't think I can pull a loincloth. I mean, I can barely pull a dragon skin trencher, Franklin says, tugging at his crimson coat. The stitching is crude as he made it by hand, but it's very solidly done as he clearly took his time to make up for a lack of skill. Now the question is, where do we put the pool? Ichi asks eagerly. Forget the pool. I want to start on the kitchens first, Nietzsche counters. All right, I know you girls said you'd take care of things to do it quick, but there's no way you can... All right, show me why you're all grinning, Franklin says, but trails off when he sees everyone's expressions. Observe, a house is born with but the push of a button, Smith says, pulling out a small device with a conspicuous red button on it that she dramatically pushes. There's a pause and she gives Franklin an upset look. Enough with the eyebrow. It runs real quiet thanks to sound baffling and takes a few moments to scan the area. And what is this it we're speaking of? Franklin asks, having not lowered the eyebrow in question. I already said it works quiet, Smith says, pointing behind Franklin, who turns to see the entire cargo portion of the transport vehicle float overhead as it slowly expands. Smith points to the top of the hill with the device and unfolds a little touch screen from the side. A few presses on it and the gigantic container hover further along before slowly setting down. In utter silence, pillars shoot into the earth and the entire structure unfolds outwards, upwards and downwards as well. In moments, the hill is crested by a 4-story manor house made of metal, and Franklin's jaw has dropped. It's just a simple mobile home for now, nothing but holo furniture, and we'll need to do a few grocery runs. But they're a great base point for building houses and can easily be expanded into full-on mansions, Mabby says with a purr. I've been getting a lot of the more tech-minded girls slapping these babies together so that we can build even faster. Your city-making trick is great for low-rent poverty stuff, but when you want people to settle and stay settled, you need something more solid to build off of. Most farmer houses will be these, and they'll be building their own barns easy enough. You call that thing simple? It's the size of an apartment building, Franklin protests. Maybe on Centris. No, actually, not even there. I've been on Centris. Maybe in cruel space, but we like to spread out, have room to stretch our legs and wings. Cheeria remarks before fluttering up on her wings. Anyways, I'm gonna pick the first room. What? Hey! Nietzsche protests, giving chase. No fair, Ichi adds in hot pursuit. Are they pirates or preschoolers? Franklin asks with a chuckle. Oh, pfft. Mirage dismisses with a swat to his chest. You're only as old as you want to be. Literally with healing comas. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need a place to lay my stuff. And I need a place with a lock on it, lest the sneaky bitch make off with my tools. Mabby notes walking after Mirage, who puts on a wounded expression that she exaggerates with a hand to her chest in mock shock. I better make a move on in case they try and shaft me with the smallest one. Just because I'm short doesn't mean I don't like space, Smitha says, walking up to their new home that was put up in moments. Am I to assume I'm gonna have the biggest bed no matter what? Franklin calls up to the group. Yes. They all shout back as one, and he chuckles. He then waits a few more moments as Cheeria gets close to the newly situated house, and then teleports a solid 10 paces in front of her and opens the door. Interesting new house smell. Cheeria then promptly crashes into his back and they skid across the smooth tile floor. She lets out a rueful chuckle and then scrambles off his back with a, sorry. I should have seen that coming. Teach me to try and look cool, Franklin says, standing upright. Yeah, sorry, I just need to make sure I get a good room. And may I assume one's been picked out for me already? Second floor dead center. It's got a staircase up to a third-floor room that's all for you so you can do your big man thinking and private stuff in there. Get a good brood on, you know. Cheeria teases him and Franklin sighs. I'm never gonna live this down, am I? Nope. I get into a funk one time. For weeks. And I'll be carrying it with me forever. Not really. Maybe a few months and... Whoa, time to go. Cheeria begins before Ichi and Nietzsche rush in and she flies off to the side to stake her claim on the best room she can. Mabby and Mirage arrive moments later, followed by Smitha. After seeing everyone inside, he closes the door and then heads upstairs to the room dead center in the building. It's already labeled the Love Nest and he shakes his head in amusement. The room is large with a huge area marked out for a bed. Apparently the girls have a lot of plans and from the size of it all of them could fit on it at once. There's also a spiral staircase leading straight up in the corner of the room. It's easy to see how it folded up. It's just a series of steps hanging from a central pole. He'll have to upgrade it with a railing so he can slide down it later. Or maybe a fireman's pole? Oh, or he could do away with entrances. You have to teleport to get in. That would be cool. Well, I'm in a glass house when it comes to childishness. He notes as he walks up the spiral staircase and pokes his head into the loft studio that's apparently been set aside for him. Inside, there is plenty of room for bookshelves, computers, and all sorts of crafting tables and little workstations. Everything he'll need to dive in deep into the wonders of Axiom. He walks to the window and looks out over the fields, soon to be tilled for innumerable crops. There's more work to do. Sea serpent fossils to remove, previously animated corpses to dispose of, craters to fill in, and more. Welcome home, Baron Franklin. Welcome home.